I just realized why nobody's giving me any complaints, because I was just told nobody can hear me when I was talking on the morning, so no wonder. Okay, I'll try to speak louder. And I put the microphone closer. Very good. All right, so I hope you had a good meditation this morning and you don't feel too much stressed out. Usually what happens in a meditation retreat, maybe not so much on the weekend retreats, but in the 9-day retreat, so you start with inspiration, then you get into the perspiration, then it gets into the desperation. So hopefully we don't get into the desperation part. Maybe you have a bit of a perspiration, but you shouldn't have too much. So I was thinking about what should I teach today for my Dharma talk for the morning. And, oops, that's the wrong one. So I decided I should talk about a little bit of meditation and distracting thoughts. And I think you all have them. Either that or I'm the only one who's got distracting thoughts when I'm meditating. But I don't think I'm the only one. And where I've been teaching already here, you probably noticed we did a little bit of sort of like we're trying to change our perception. We are substituting our ways of thinking. We are directing our ways of our thoughts into certain direction. And in that way, you are making your thoughts, you are calming your thoughts. Sometimes we say even, you are creating better karma in your ways, because your intention is then to be kinder, softer person. And whatever you put your intention to, that's what creates your karma. But let's see what the Buddha said about distracting thoughts. So we go to the middle-length discourses, and let's see if I've been talking porcupines. Okay, number 20. The removal of distracting thoughts. So, okay, let's do Bhikkhu Bodhi. I was thinking I could do Ajahn Suchata, but let's do Bhikkhu Bodhi since I have it open here. So have I heard. On one occasion, the Buddha was living in a Savatthi in Jhana Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the monastics, bhikkhus, monks. Yes, Bhante, yes, Buddha, they replied. And the Buddha said this. Monks, when a monk is pursuing a higher mind, from time to time he should give attention to 5 signs. What are the 5? So here we go. And my tablet just somehow broke. Let me see what that is. Never mind. Monks rather. He's addressing monks. When a monk is giving attention to some signs, and owing to that sign, there arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, hate, and delusion. Then he should give attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome. So if you see yourself while meditating, the thoughts quite often, the nagging thoughts are connected with desire. You're wanting something else. You wish to be somewhere else than in Jhana Grove. Or your desire for your partner, or to have a partner. Not to have a partner, whatever it is, quite often, then that's hate. And delusion, you're thinking, deluded thoughts are quite often that you are you, your thoughts are you, the world is eternal, you are eternal. There is happiness somewhere to be found where it's not happiness. So let's say you think finding a partner is happiness. Well, as somebody who's got a partner, it's not happiness. So deluded thoughts. So you're trying to find happiness somewhere where it's not actually happiness, or it's it is impermanent. You think something is permanent, which is not permanent. And you think somewhere is self, where there's no self. So those are the things. You give attention to those thoughts. That's the sign that something comes up. And in that moment when you pay, sometimes we use the word heed. You pay attention that hate, that greed, then you associate yourself with it. You make something out of it. You make it into something big. Then that becomes your world. And the more you give attention to that, more you dwell on that, the bigger it becomes. You're creating your own world. Okay, so let's see what the Buddha says. What should we do about it? Unwholesome souls connected with desire, with hate and delusion, then he should give attention to some other sign connected that what is wholesome. So you should give attention to some other sign which is connected with wholesome. So that is the substitution. So when you have those ideas of greed, hatred, delusion coming up, you see your own mind. You substitute. What's a good substitution? What are we doing this morning? Gratefulness. We appreciate ourselves. Loving kindness is very common, often used as the substitution. And not just as a meditation object itself, but it's a very good thing when you see hatred coming. What you should do is to substitute straight away with loving kindness. This is the first step that we are going to go course on how to get rid of or remove the distracting thoughts. But these are the first ones on the list. What's coming up are the best ways of doing. So substitution, gratefulness, loving kindness. Then we have what we call let's say we have 4 Brahmaviharas. My name is one of them, but Mudita. So we have Metta, Mudita, Karuna, Upekkha. We have Metta is the loving kindness. So that's what we've been doing already this morning. Loving kindness, it's like, loving kindness is sometimes said it's like that feeling for a mother to their child. Everything almost goes first for the feeling of the child. You try to care about the child on even almost losing your own life, and sometimes they said that the mothers risk their own life for the child. That's how strong the loving kindness should be. It's this kind of, it's not the love which you have your partner, but it's the love you feel amongst the family. So that's one. Mudita is the one. It's a good, also nice substitution is mudita is you get the happiness from seeing other people doing well. Other people are meditating well. We are doing it together here. I'm sure others are doing well. You feel positive uplift from that. So you feel distraction. You feel all those negative nagging thoughts are coming back to you. Well, you substitute with mudita. If we are all doing our best, and I'm sure others are doing suffering, but they're doing well by putting effort. So you're trying to uplift your mind from that. Karuna, it's sometimes a bit difficult, this kind of compassion, because sometimes it comes with the package of you feel sad for other people. It's hard to have compassion if you don't see other people suffering, but it should be just more neutral kind of compassion. Upekkha is very, very sometimes considered very high Brahmavihara, like of this dwelling, where sometimes it's translated quite often as Upekkha as equanimity. But we always have to remember this path of meditation is a path of feelings, and that's why women, ladies, always to not always, in the beginning they usually do better because you are more connected with the feelings and you're not so afraid of the feelings. You can feel more naturally. As for us men, sometimes it takes a long time to get connected with your feelings and not be afraid of them. Be actually, you can be with those feelings and bring them up. And that's why this path of meditation should be felt. It's not an intellectual path. In some way it is, but to get into the meditation, you have to feel your way into it. So that's why if we translate upekkha as equanimity, what kind of feeling is equanimity? It's not really a feeling what you could associate yourself with it. So that's why Ajahn Brahm just recently came. He's been starting to talk about that as contentment. You are happy to be here. It's like that feeling of when you're leaving school. All your homework is done. You don't have any plans for the future. The summer holiday, long holidays ahead of you. You know that feeling, right? There is a feeling there. There is that contentment. Oh, nothing to do, nowhere to go. You're contented. It's a good substitution, right? When you agitated in the beginning of meditation, if you just keep looking at that agitation and you don't try to substitute quickly, you dwell with it, you pay attention to that sign, that's what you become. And that what becomes your meditation object then. Whatever you pay attention to, that is your meditation object. So those are different kinds of substitutions. Like I said, metta quite often, very, very common. But just gratitude, compassion, whatever you can bring up. That's what did the Buddha say? Sign that is connected with wholesome. So that is a wholesome sign or object. Then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate and delusion are abandoned in him, and they subside. So if once you become more skilled with these, you can see that something is coming up. You immediately put effort into the good mind state. And that's why if you've been meditating a long time, if you're very skilled, somebody like Ajahn Brahm, he can direct his mind into happiness. And that's why you can see somebody who's usually experienced meditators, if you can see if somebody's good at meditating, well, the only way you can really see that is that they are happy, content person. They're not curmudgeons, zombies who just try to avoid all the distractions at any cost. They're complaining about the noise in the hall, or that you should put the effort in to do the hours. And I've been amongst those kind of meditators, and I've been in those kind of retreats where you think you do the perspiration and that's going to bring the wholesome. No, the wholesome comes from that happy mind state, the good mind state. When a bhikkhu gives attention to some other sign connected with that with what is wholesome, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness and concentrated. So mind is basically when the mind is happy to be here, when it's soft and gentle, the breath appears. Quite often what happens with meditators, and you are looking for that, let's say you have been taught to do breath meditation. You go looking for it. It's a very, very subtle object. You're not going to be able to appreciate it enough because your mind doesn't appreciate the other things. When your mind has a lot of softness and loving kindness, it appreciates everything. So when everything, your body calms down, this is a natural process. You really don't have to do anything else except do the substitution if you have those unwholesome things coming in your mind. Then you have a mind of with the soft, kind, gentle. The body starts being soft, kind, gentle in the beginning. Then the breath starts appearing because the body has disappeared or is disappearing. You cannot have body and then go to the breath. Body hurts, you be negative about it, go to the breath. Body hurts, go to the body pain, feel negative about it, go to the breath. It's not going to work. Because then you feel negative about the breath as well. You cannot have, oh, I feel loving kindness for the breath. Oh, but God damn, my back hurts. Why am I here? You cannot have, that kind of mind state. It has to be very soft and kind and gentle. The body disappears. You feel like you're sitting in this salty water and it's nice and soft, and the body's almost disappeared. And the breath, and it doesn't move anymore. That's the key there. Everything else is fading away. What's still moving? Your breath. And that's why we could have other kinds of meditation objects, but we try to give the breath as an object because itself is quite easy to let go, but it's a very calming object. And you might have noticed if you have a good meditation sometimes and the breath appears there and it starts to be very, very, first you see these kind of different kinds of breaths. It's coarse, it's long, it's short, and but because it's interesting, because the TV is all the other stuff is not on anymore, the mind is interested in something which moves, something which is changing. If something is not changing, you don't pay attention to that, right? It's like your bum on the seat. If I give you, put your attention into it, you feel the bum. But if you don't, well, the bum is still there, but you don't pay attention to that. It's the same thing with any object. If you pay attention, if you put attention to something, it appears very interesting. It's in your mind. It's in the like in front of your mind. And that's why sometimes we said, put the breath in front of you. It doesn't mean the breath is really in front of you. It is, okay, it appears in the beginning, it's in the front of you, but you cannot really place it in a space anywhere. But it's in front of your mind. It's an important object, but not that you're really putting effort into it, looking at it. But it's because everything else is disappearing, the breath appears. And then when you look at the breath long enough, the breath starts to get more and more subtle, and when you look at it through kind eyes, it starts to appear really beautiful, and then the beautiful breath appears. So it might, even if to get that far, it's really you manage to disappear really far. Yourself is disappearing, and that's already really deep into the ladder. Just that breath meditation. People think breath meditation is easy. You put attention to the breath. No, it's not. That's already really high there up in the ladder. And once you've been there, you know how to get there a bit more easy in the future. And it's basically, the Buddha says in the first here. So if you had distracting thoughts, substitute. Okay? Okay, let's see what the next step is, if that doesn't work. If, while he is giving attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, there still arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, with delusion, then he should examine the danger in those thoughts thus. These thoughts are unwholesome. They are reprehensible. Okay. They result in suffering. When he examines the danger in those thoughts, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandon of them, his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to singleness, to one-pointedness, concentrated. Okay, so that's there, and then he's going to go to the simile. So I said I will tell the simile a bit later. So what do? You see those thoughts. Anger is coming again. I'm not being very happy to be here. You see the danger in there. What is the danger of being angry? What is the danger of pushing those things away and you get more and more unhappy? You multiply it. It becomes bigger. Anger only leads to anger. We have a Dhammapada verse again. You cannot fight anger with ill will. By loving kindness alone, by metta, you can not fight, but you can, substitute anger. So keep that in mind. Try to apply better ways of doing things. See the danger. So the second step now is see the danger. It's coming again. That's not good. I'm going to go into that rabbit hole. It's going to take me, I'm going to be there for a while. I'm going to get more negative about it. I'm going to get more angry. I'm going to appreciate myself even less because I doubt myself, because I'm angry at myself. There's nobody there to begin with. Why are you angry about yourself? So don't go in. See the danger in it. So, and then there's a little simile here, what the Buddha gives. Just as a man or woman, young, youthful, and fond of ornaments, would be horrified, humiliated and disgusted if the carcass of a snake or dog or a human being were hung around his neck, so too, when a monk examines the danger in those thoughts, his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to one pointed and concentrated, to calmed. So the Buddha gives a really strong simile here, as if you have something dead around your neck. You think something it's worth keeping there. You think it's an ornament. But once you realize that ornament is something disgusting, you really don't want to keep it there. You don't want to have negative thoughts. You don't want to have doubts in your mind. You don't want to have anger, because it's horrible. It leads into you in the worst place. You should be horrified. I have these thoughts. I should be afraid of them. It's interesting. Okay, so those are the 1 and 2, and these are the substitution and not being very. Don't think it's something good to hold on to those bad thoughts. Even if it's like self-doubt, don't think it's good to hold on to it. Don't think it's good to hold on to a view of yourself being something important. We have an interesting book by Bande Sumedho, Ajahn Sumedho, who it's like, the title of the book, Don't Take Yourself Too Seriously. And I thought it was a good title. Quite often we take our own self-stories as you're reading this book of your biography all the time. This is me, yes, this is my book, and you're putting more pages in your own biography. You're making big thing out of it. Don't take it too seriously. Put a couple jokes in there. Read it as if it's somebody else's bio. It's not really yours. There are pages there, sure, but try to see it as it's somebody else. It doesn't belong to you. It's not mine. Don't protect it. And quite often, if you do, add some nice things in there. I am a good person. I'm a confident person. I appreciate other people. I have metta in my mind. Those are good. Put those pages in there. 'there. 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 and don't pay attention to the bad pages. Pay attention to the good pages. Okay, number 1 and 2 are the most important thing. Let's see what the third one is. If while he's examining endangering those thoughts, there still arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, with delusion, then he should try to forget those thoughts, should not give attention to them. When he tries to forget those thoughts and does not give attention to them, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to one-pointed and calmed. So this, we're going less and less. I don't know, but it's almost like more effort way of putting. Loving kindness metta should be easy to apply if you have it in there, if you know how to do it. Seeing the danger should be also quite a swift way of removing distractions. The third one is don't pay attention to that. Okay, so the simile here is that just as a man with the good eyes who did not want to see forms that had come within range of sight would either shut his eyes or look away, so too when a monk tries to forget those thoughts and does not give attention to them, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to one pointed and calmed. So look away, but it's quite difficult. So because what happens? You're looking away with not kindly. You're looking away. You're pushing it away. You're pushing it away with anger. I don't want to have these thoughts. They're all the time. They're following you, and you. So that's what you're doing. You're carrying it all the time, and you keep pushing it. You're running, but yourself is following. Everywhere you go, self follows. And you get more and more angry. But if you can, you see those unwholesome qualities coming, anger, quite often, disappointments in life. You can look away. You don't have to confront them. Quite often you confront them, it gets worse. Just as if you don't want to look at something, you just turn away and look somewhere else. Look away, basically. So that's the third one. Let's see what the fourth one. If while he's trying to forget those thoughts and not giving attention to them, there still arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion, then he should give attention to stilling the thoughts formation of those thoughts. When he gives attention to stilling the thoughts formation of those thoughts, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought down to singleness, one-pointed and calmed. Just as a man walking fast might consider, why am I walking fast? What if I walk slowly? And he would walk slowly. Then he might consider, why am I walking slowly? What if I stand? And he would stand. Then he might consider, why am I standing? What if I sit? And he would sit. Then he might consider, why am I sitting? What if I lie down? And he would lie down. By doing so, he would substitute for each grosser posture with one what was subtler. So too, when a monk gives attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts, his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to one pointed and calmed. This is a bit of a mystery. Let's see if there's a... So you're trying to understand the conditioning, the cause, the root. So you see, what is the cause for this? Again, it's a bit more effort. Why am I always getting angry? Why am I always, where do these things come from? It's not the world which is to be faulted. You can just see in your own mind, you are putting in adding fuel into the fire. It's basically your fault. But look, you can look at the root cause. So this is again a bit more effort put into this. The problem with this way of thinking is that you can get sucked into this way of thinking and you try to maybe justify, or you just keep looking at that, where do these thoughts coming from? And while doing that, you make them bigger. While doing that, you get more and more agitated. But that is a way to look at it. In Buddhism, we are taught that everything is causes and conditions. There is no permanent, everlasting self in there. Everything is cause and condition. So you can try to look at these causes which are pouring in the conditions. If something is really bringing you all the time unhappiness, if you look at it, well, then you can try to move away from that. We all have those triggers, like, sometimes we call them buttons. Something is pushing your buttons, and you intentionally put yourself into the situation where the buttons can't be pushed. Don't do that. Move away from those things. See the conditions which are there. You are grumpy because you are tired, you're hungry maybe. That's a very, very, that's why you need to feed the babies all the time and make sure that they sleep enough. You are pretty much the same. Make sure you sleep enough, you are relaxed, you eat enough, not too much, but enough. Take care of your body. Make sure you take care of yourself, that the conditions are not there. Whatever the condition is there, I don't know what your conditions are, but you know where they come from. Quite often something triggers you, the anger in you. You're trying to meditate, but you think you have to sit in lotus posture, whereas your body really doesn't want to do it. Why do you do that? Don't be embarrassed to be relaxed. Don't be embarrassed about being kind to yourself, appreciating yourself. So that's I think we're at number 4. Okay. So crows, whatever that crows thing is, you see the cause and conditions. So that's why I think that simile there is like you go from basically running to sitting still to lying down. Just like you are trying to find calmer and calmer ways of being. And this is the last one. And this is what most of you do, I'm doing, and quite often this is what happened. If while he's giving attention to the stilling of thought formation of thoughts, there still arises him evil, unwholesome thoughts, connected with desire, with hate, with delusion, then with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he should beat down, constrain, and crush mind with his mind. When his teeth clench and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he beats down, constrains, and crushes mind with his mind. Then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate and delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to one pointed and calmed. Just as a strong man might seize a weaker man by the head or shoulders and beat him down, constrain him and crush him, so too, when his teeth clench and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, a monk beats down, constrains, and crushes mind with mind. His mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to one point and calmed. So most likely you do that already, so I don't need to tell you how to do that. So basically, it doesn't really mean that you're being angry about being angry, or you try to punish your body. It's basically you should crush those things with wholesome states of mind. So you're really putting effort in of with the mind, which is almost going back to the first one of like, I'm gonna really now put effort into calming the mind with something which is more wholesome. So you crush the mind with the mind, sort of, which is interesting. You cannot, the mind is there, you cannot really fight yourself against yourself, but you are going back to the substitution, but you're really crushing the mind, the unwholesome thoughts with those. Quite often, we are doing this. Most likely, a lot of you are doing that. You are, like I said many times already, you are crushing those thoughts about anger, ill will, unworthiness, not having good mindset, whatever that is, with unwholesomeness already. And you are pressing the tongue, clenching your teeth. And sometimes it's interesting. I've been teaching in prison sometimes, and they had some fellows who had anger problem. One time we were doing this. There was this mindfulness course, and I was teaching the Buddhist side of it. And they took these prisoners who identified themselves having an anger problem, and they came to my class, and I could see these guys were a bit on the edge already. And then I started talking really calmly. It's like, calm down, okay. Teaching loving kindness, and you'd see these guys where one fellow was right in front of me, and he was like putting his fist, like it was like he wanted to punch me anytime, and I was getting a bit nervous, and then it's funny, I was like sitting there quietly. It's like, oh yes, have loving kindness, and then he just gets up. I was like, oh, here we come. So I was just like, okay, calm down, nothing's gonna happen. Then he just runs off. And it's like, phew, that was close. But so quite often, like when you start calming down, especially for us men, I don't know, it probably happens for ladies as well. There are some things in your body, you're clenching your fist and your teeth or something. You don't really want to be soft, gentle, kind, right? It's not very natural state of being unless you put the effort, and that is the effort we should be doing in a meditation. You should be able to look confidently into the mirror in front of you and smile. Why can't you do that? Because you don't have enough metta in your mind. If you have a lot of metta, you have same metta towards yourself, loving kindness, than you have towards your baby, your mother, your grandmother. And that's where the effort is. It's not the effort of clenching your teeth and fist and all that, and you're putting the perspiration in, and somehow you're gonna get enlightened because you sit 3 hours a day. If anything, you're getting further and further away from the truth. You're thinking that if you're crushing down your mind with mind, that's gonna be wholesome. Because you forget. So that's why we're doing constant effort. That's why meditation should be putting effort constantly. Once in a while, just snap out of your self-biography, writing down your own book, and look back a little bit, but look with kindness. So, let's see, that's okay. That's the last one. Monks. When a monk is giving attention to some sign, whatever it is in your mind, that's your object. You can look your knee pain, or you can back pain, or your mind pain, or loving kindness, that's the wholesome sign. And owing to that sign, there arises him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then when he gives attention to some other sign connected with that is wholesome, any such evil, unwholesome thoughts are abandoned in him and subside,
and with abandonment of them his mind becomes steadied internally, quiet, brought to one pointed and calmed. When he examines the danger in those thoughts, so that was the first one. When he examines the danger in his thoughts, again the same thing happens. You become calm. When he tries to forget and does not give attention, when he gives attention to stilling of thoughts, formation of thoughts, when with his teeth clenched, with his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he beats down, constrains, and crushes his mind with mind. Any such evil, unwholesome thoughts are abandoned in him. His mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought one-pointed, and calmed. This monk is then called master of the courses of thought. He will think whatever thought he wishes to think, and he will not think any thought that he does not wish to think. He has severed craving, flung off the fetters, and with the complete penetration of conceit, he has made an end of suffering. That's what the Buddha said, and the monks were satisfied and delighted in Buddha's words. Right, so do you want to suffer? That's up to you. Buddhist path should be end of suffering. And that's one way of doing it. I was just reading Dhammapada, and I think there was hang on, so let me see. Okay, so verse 111, I like this one as well. Better just to live one day wise and meditative than live 100 years foolish and uncontrolled. So the controlling doesn't mean you're a zombie. It doesn't mean you don't have feelings. It means you are aware why you're doing things. You have thoughts which are connected with kindness, giving, letting go. That's what you should be doing. And to live one day, it's better to live than live 100 years of not even looking at those things for 100 years. So today is the day. Put in the effort. And quite often these days you hear in many places we hear these things like the mindfulness. What is mindfulness? What are they teaching over there? I have one of my friends' brother is a professor, and he's studying happiness. That's an interesting thing that they're actually starting to study happiness these days in universities. And he's getting paid well to do that. And he was working he got his PhD in Germany, and then he got hired in this famous university in Germany. And he said he had to leave because the professor he was working for was absolute nightmare. And this was the department to study happiness. So he had to leave Germany, and now he's in England. So he found a better place to do his postdoctorate work. And it's interesting that he said that these people should be professionals of that. These people study happiness. How come they don't know what happiness is? Same thing. I was just read an article last week, and there was another happiness professor from the United States, and there was an article, and he said he'd been teaching and studying happiness for 20, 30 years, and he said all of a sudden he realized he doesn't know himself how to make himself happy. So there is this big movement about happiness, and there's a lot of studies being done. And another interesting thing, what they did in was it Berkeley University in the United States, where the professor was teaching mindfulness, and so obviously mindfulness should be connected with relaxation, what we should be doing here. So he divided his class into two. And he said, okay, I will teach the one, because he was a mindfulness teacher, meditation teacher. I will teach one half the class mindfulness, and the other half of the class we give them vouchers and they go to a retreat, but their retreat is in Spa. So they went to Spa and they spent a weekend there. And the other half of the group spent the mindfulness course with the professor, expert on mindfulness and happiness. And then they got the group together and they did the survey and they interviewed and did these things. And they find out the group who went to the Spa were way more happy and way more calm than the people who did the mindfulness course. And you can see why. You are here you're trying to be mindful, aware, and you are putting effort, mindful. You are mindful of wrong things. You are mindful of negative thoughts. You are mindful of those distracting little nagging buttons in your mind. Instead of putting effort, you know what happens? You go to Spa, you get the bodily pleasure. And then from that bodily pleasure, it flows into your mind. You forget about those, the things about the world, your work, and or in this case, the students with the school stuff and all that. Oh, it's so nice to be in Spa, and you just sort of laugh, and it's a good time. And the people in the meditation class, they are just, you are just forced to look at those things day in, day out, and you are forced to just sit still in uncomfortable positions. And somehow we think that's going to make us happy. Is it? Yes, we hope so. But it does happen if you are applying your mindfulness into the right place. So mindfulness should always be connected with wisdom. And this is the wisdom, what I just was teaching you. Wisdom is applying good thoughts so bad thoughts don't want to come into your mind. If they still come, you see the danger. Oh, that's not good. It's coming again. I can see the negativity coming, creeping in. Look, move away quickly before it engulfs your mind. And then you go into this more and more coarser forms of you seeing that how those delusions, anger quite often is the big thing, lust a big thing as well, come and just takes over your mind. So mindfulness, which are not thought quite often, mindfulness is thought similar kind of sense as a concentration often, and it's not very good. Mindfulness should come with wisdom. Wisdom is having a loving kindness. That really is wisdom. Wisdom is to know your mind. Wisdom is to know that what should you do with the mind. And then you go into, because of that calms your mind and you feel good. And then you start seeing maybe deeper truth, which we teach in Buddhism, anicca, dukkha, anatta. Those might not come in this weekend, but they are there. Anicca, everything is impermanent, everything will change, don't worry about it. Everything is suffering basically because of that, because everything changes. And craving, and because of your hatred, everything is suffering. You're creating your own suffering. Anatta, there is no self really there. You are trying to beat down something which is not yours. You are trying to change something which doesn't belong to you. You are trying to change something. We're not here to change you. But you have to realize that this is just a compound of things which are just coming together and going, coming and going, coming and going. Conditions, cause and conditions. There is no you there to begin with, and you're not going to find it in a meditation retreat. Just relax. You're in the spa. Have a good time. Go for a walk. Sleep. Eat well. Look at the beautiful people bring us food here, just so you can have a relaxing weekend. Why are you making it so difficult?
It's not my fault. I'll do my best. Okay, sure, it could be a bit better, but hey, I'm starting. So that's the Dhamma talk. We will have now the small group question and answers, I think. So I think that will start in 10 minutes. Did it take? So let's see how that works. Group interview at 9:45. So you have a little bit of time to do meditation, do whatever you wish. 9:45, I don't know if people sign for the list. Let's see if it works. I like the idea that we have a bit of a back and forth. So you have something, ideas coming from this talk or the meditation or whatever. Please try to be brave and ask questions, because sometimes we have the private interviews and other people don't learn from your experience. We can learn from each other's experience. We all pretty much have the same problems. So please come those and see how it works. And I see you there. Very good. Sadhu, Sukhiyat.